gas goes up in price
Can
again.
you bring canned hamburgers? Those are a penny.
I've heard of canned chicken.
Can I bring canned dog food?
Gold can.
No, that would be mean. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, say again? I don't know why not. Everybody needs water, right?
Water in a can.
There is canned water, yeah, for like emergency rations for people who like had to abandon ship. You know, like it'll be on like lifeboats and have canned water, things like that. It's a real thing.
Can we bring a pack of water and like just open it and each water counts as one?
That's something to ask the office. But hey, all right, folks. So it is December the 2nd.
Can I bring a can of Pepsi?
And we're going over, yeah, I guess so. We're going over the second half of chapter 24. And this has to do with how the plebeians, or the plebeians, however you want to say it, started to fight for equal rights within the early Roman Republic. But don't worry, everything's not going to be cheery forever because it's Rome. All right. So our terms on the board are the Aediles, the Agrarian Law, the 12 Tables, the Valerio-Horatian Laws, and censors. I only have a couple of images up for today. We have the same one where, once again, if you remember, the plebeians had all the problems. They did all of the hard fighting. They had to leave their farms and their families. And when they did so, we have a problem with their crops are unable to be planted or sown. They're unable to take it to the market and make money. Hey. It doesn't matter. Face this way. I'm only taking up a little bit of your precious time in class. All right, so when they come home, they find themselves in debt. When they're in debt, they have to take loans from the rich, but then the laws are against them, and whenever they don't pay it in time, they end up in slavery, in prison, and executed. Well, after they threaten and actually leave Rome for a while, leaving it defenseless, they managed to get the tribunes, which are there kind of like as legal protection for them. You can think of them as like attorneys, really. They're also going to get people called aediles that are going to be kind of like civil servants that's going to make sure that the city runs well. Things like roads, sewers, and all these things are kept up for public use. But of course, as you read, the city doesn't have like written laws. And so there's a lot of corruption with that. If you remember, that was a problem with Athens. It's like a reoccurring theme. Whenever people don't know the law is used against them. Hey, Jaden. I'm shaking my head now that it's like stopping. 1, 2, 3. All right, you got to write up. I asked you 3 times. I counted. So now I have to write you up. Okay. Now we will go ahead and remove it. All right. We'll take care of it after the lecture. You distracted me multiple times. I thought it was cute. I asked you to do something. You didn't do it multiple times. I don't want a mess. So here we are. All right. So, sorry, folks. So, you have these folks. They're really fighting for the rights. They wind up having to leave the town. They come back. They get some of their protections, but they still aren't able to get representation within like the actual lawmaking body. And so, after we have multiple abuses by judges and ruling against people who didn't know what the laws were, they're going to demand to have the laws written down. And that's where we're going to have the Decemviri. That's the 10 strong men. And they're going to make the 12 tables of Roman law. It's going to be cast in bronze. Remember, I showed you that the other day. And so these 12 tables, they're very broad laws, right? Romans are a very legalistic people, so they're going to make more laws later on. But this is going to be, you can think of it almost as their constitution. The other laws that they have are going to go back to this. I'm going to have you read these later on. I think this week I'm probably going to have you read Alexander again, but next week it's pretty short. I'm probably going to have you read the 12 tables. So, because we still have to finish that Life of Alexander. Now, so they have this in writing, but once again, you have more abuses coming to the Roman people. If you remember, there's like another dramatic story where you have this one Roman villain named Cassius. He's from Wayne. And Cassius, I believe that's him. I think I showed you the wrong image the other day. Cassius is going to try to take a plebeian's daughter for himself as a slave with sinister intentions. And her father instead is going to have her slain to save her from this disgrace. And that's going to so upset the Roman people that even the army is going to join and try to demand more equal protections for Romans. And so that's where you're going to get the Valerio-Horatian law. This is where they're going to restructure a lot of their legal system. They're going to allow the plebeians to start having votes. They're going to allow their assembly to start making laws. They're going to allow those tribunes to listen to the patrician senate. They're going to allow them to even be voted in as consuls. Remember, that's their executive branch. Allow them to intermarry. So I guess they've had enough. And so now plebeians, though they don't have equal wealth, they do have equal rights. But we're also going to see the creation of censors. And censors do something called the census, something we still have today. They count people and they check how much property they have to see how much they can be taxed. But they also check to see which class of people you're in, whether you're a patrician or a plebeian. So they had an amazing amount of power. And we still do the census today. I mean, a lot of ancient societies did the census, but Romans were very well known for keeping very good detailed census. So here you have a censor, people lining up, coming to talk to the censor and tell them what they have. And they could, of course, go to people's property and check it out and see what they own. And they wrote all these things down. We're going to talk about more census later on when we talk about, like, say, Charlemagne. He would do census in the medieval times. Also, William the Conqueror in England. King David was known for doing a census. I mean, it was something that it's something you want to do. That way you could, like, at least tax people equally, and you know what resources you could draw from your kingdom or nation or republic or whatever. All right. Sir. Yeah.
But
What's
if you think about it, every time they make laws, if one's happy, the other one isn't happy.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, I mean, a law is, what is a law?
Something they enforce.
Something to enforce, yeah. A law is a rule that has to be enforced through coercion. And so coercion could be threat of punishment, threat of fine. But there's always a consequence with a law. But there's not only consequence, there's also consequences. So if you make a law to adjust something, somebody's probably going to lose. Sometimes the person who loses are thieves, but sometimes it's also everyday people. You know, I just remembered something. So if you have a lunch and you want a lunch, go ahead and raise your hand. I need to get lunch now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 A lunches. Wow.
Wait, what lunch is it?
This is A day.
Wait, what are we gonna have for lunch, guys?
I don't know.
Mystery meat.
Isn't like all lunch meat mystery meat?
Make it
then?
6. 2 are B lunch. Okay.
Wait, are we doing B lunch? Wait, I'm gonna be lunch.
So you're B lunch, so
I didn't know we raised our
Right.
hands for B lunch.
okay, B lunch, raise your hand. 1 and 2. Okay, yeah. So
Three.
that makes more
Three.
sense.
Ryan raised his hand.
You are 10? Okay.
just silent for 3 minutes.
He
Okay.
does this.
Well, three meat.
Yeah.
Like,
This is good.
decent.
Put that out there for you.
From Starbucks.
All right, so we have our following turns up on the board. We have Idolase is the first.
Yeah, whatever.
And so what did I tell you that the Idolase job primarily was? They kind of went around and made sure.
Survive the tribunes.
Yeah, they
Care
have.
for the sheep
Oh,
in
right, they were the
public.
bodyguard.
Now they would help the tribunes.
Oh, they would,
But-
they were like public service.
Yeah, yeah. So you would have one for like sewers, one for the games. Ensured that public services and the games is going to be important. They're also going to have food because the citizens of the city of Rome, through much of its history, is going to have free bread for people who live there. So they're going to have like a form of free food and games and entertainment, water for the Romans. So, yeah, and that has to do with like roads, sewers. And these are all really important things.
What was the relation to like the plebeian authorities? What were they? So they were like they're under like
The Theban authorities?
the plebeian, like
Oh, the plebeians, yeah. So like,
what were they?
so they, okay, so
The understudy?
kind of, but it was kind of like the first step. Like if you were going to start working for the government, your first step would be somebody who works for an idling. And then you would become an idling. You might do something like you're an engineer who makes sure that, you help build roads and make sure that the workers do the roads right. You do that well enough, you might get to an elected position in the Roman government. And then you might be appointed a governor one day, and then you'll come back home and be elected a senator. And then after that, you might do something else. And so it was like a stepping stone. And that's kind of how things can be sometimes in, like, say, American politics. So they might start off on the school board, and eventually they might run for mayor. And then if they do good at that, they might want to look at something to do with the state. Not that it always works like that. All right, so agrarian law. So what was the agrarian law trying to fix?
They didn't have any land.
Yeah. So land taken by war, all used by the patricians. The plebeians remember they freed them of their debts. They got a lot of them out of prison and out of slavery, but they didn't own anything. The
They
plebeians,
couldn't-
yeah. Had little land. Did this law ever work?
No, they didn't put it into action.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be bad. So this is like essentially like I don't know, like, hey, here we go. We're going to say we're going to do this great thing for you. Then they never do it.
That moment.
So this law was an empty promise. To give them land.
Oh, it's supposed to say land, not weed.
You okay? And this is going to be a problem for Rome all the way to the fall of Rome. The patrician class is going to hold on to almost all of the land for hundreds and hundreds of years, while the commoners do not. Eventually, these patricians are going to become medieval lords generations later, and the plebeians are going to become medieval serfs. So this land is going to stay in the hands of these super ennobled, wealthy families for a very long time. Later on as an inheritance. So the 12 tables. So what was the 12 tables?
Like there were 12 laws placed in the forum or marketplace.
Goes in the forum.
Yeah.
Oral.
So
Or envelope.
publicly displayed
Those copies of laws that were used in schools.
laws.
And-
Now, yeah, they were taught the laws in school.
Written on, what's it called? They were written on like copper
Every boy had to learn one.
or bronze.
Bronze.
Yeah. Written on bronze tablets.
Oh, yeah. No. You know what? We'll see if get it. Get
Who
it?
made them?
Rich people.
Well, kinda.
Made it by rich people for poor people.
It was the
These
guards,
seem
right?
more-
It was 10 men,
The evil 10.
the Decemviri. Or weirdy, like, weird, like men.
Oh my
Decem, 10. The 10 men. All right, so
Thanks, Julius and Augustus.
the Valerio Horatian
Except for
laws.
in Vermont.
So the plebeians, they're like the Roman poor. They're really getting pushed around. They're tired of all the abuses coming against them. So what does the Valerian Horatian laws essentially do? It allows something to happen.
It allows people to know the law so they don't get penalized like unjustly.
Let them have.
So they can be like, actually, I didn't break this law, you're just making that up.
Yeah,
You're just
Or more like,
making
I didn't know
things up.
that we were supposed to do that. Why didn't you tell me?
to know the laws and have representation. Because if you remember, they allowed their assemblies to now make law. Oh yeah. So know the law, comma, have a say in the government. Remember that term veto? What does
I'm
that
just gonna
mean?
call them plebs.
Pledge.
Veto to
You can say please.
Cancel.
Yeah, or I forbid it.
But it's funny.
No, just like in the U.S. Bob.
Have a say in the government.
Oh my god.
Ah, you're seeing connection.
Yeah.
And create laws. So now, all of a sudden, they're seen as equals. Now, we also gain an office. Now, this is going to be a powerful office for the patricians. What did the censors do? It's kind of in their name.
Census, yeah.
Yeah. So they take the census, which sounds silly. It's like, okay, yeah, you're counting people, so what? But when they count you, they could also determine how much you're taxed. They can make you poor or leave you rich based on taxation. The census, which is a count of Roman citizens, and their property for tax purposes. It's but for taxes. So there we have it. So the main theme of this is, once again, is you have like this natural progression where you have a tribal people become a kingdom. The kingdom is going to become gradually more democratic in many ways. Hey-o. Thank you, ma'am. And so it's going to become more democratic, but at first you're going to have like these powerful nobles who are going to be very oppressive, but eventually their fellow citizens, the poorer ones, are going to get more and more say-so, more and more say-so. Now, that's not going to be all cheery. This is how it is on the books, because we're going to see that patricians are still later on going to really, really, really hammer down on the plebeians. In fact, I have some videos I'm going to show you as far as how this plays out and how there's going to be more struggle between the Roman natural fear against kings, but also the desire of the people who are oppressed to have equal rights. So, hey, that's going to end our lecture for today. We're going to go into the next chapter tomorrow. Or we're going to go over the next chapter of Alexander the Great's life. I'm not sure yet. Well, I'll let you know tomorrow. Talk to you later.
These are actually really good.
What's your question, sir?
Are taxes just required from